It's a title, folks. Have any of you heard this name before? You have? Where have you heard it? Okay, in Arabic, but where did you hear it before Arabic? How about Hebrew? Anybody here speak Hebrew? Anybody studied Hebrew? Have you looked at the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament? You will find Mahmed 11 times in the Old Testament. Mahmed is well known in the Bible. You didn't know that, did you? Well, here we go. The Ugarites were the first to introduce this word in 1400 BC, the Mahmed, the praised one, the anointed one. It was then borrowed in Hebrew in 1000 BC and put into our Bibles 11 times. Song of Solomon 5:16, the Mahmed, the altogether lovely one, the praised one that Solomon's referring to. There's the Mahmed we're looking for. Now, by the 4th century, St. Ambrose, the early church father, took it. Remember, Arabic comes from Aramaic, which comes from Hebrew. So therefore, it's all the same letters. They use all the same letters. They're all Semitic letters. They use the same consonantal text. And therefore, St. Ambrose, writing in Syriac, talks about this Mahmed from Song of Solomon 5:16. And he says this is a title for Jesus Christ, the Anointed One, the Messiah. That's what the Anointed One is. From that time on, from the 4th century AD, it was this Mahmed was employed by many of the church fathers. Here's some examples. Origen, in the early 3rd century, the Christian theologian, interpret the Song of Solomon 5:16, a passage as the unique scripture where the eschatological nuptials of Christ and his bride are present. St. Ambrose, in the 4th century AD, introduced the ideas of that Song of Solomon 5:16 passage referred to Mahmed was to be considered a title for Jesus Christ, the Messiah. Gregory of Elvira continued that idea in the late 4th century. St. John Cassian continued that in the 5th century. St. Augustine, the great church father, continued that in the 5th century, and then Apollonius in the middle of the 7th century also believed that this Mahmed was Jesus Christ. Conclusion, the title Mahmed, not the name Mahmed, the title Mahmed, was a common title for Jesus by the 7th century in the church in that part of the world, especially in Arabic, which took it from Aramaic. So we should not be surprised when we find it written in many places at that time. It's written all over the place. That's why we find Mahmed after Mahmed after Mahmed. But it's not just the Christians, the Jews also used that title in Hebrew. If you have any doubt, just take a look at this inscription from 523. This is a good 100 years before Muhammad even came in, when Muhammad died. And this is a 6th century Jewish rock inscription in what is today Yemen. It's there in Najran. And it is translated by the Lord of the Jews by the Mahmed. The Mahmed in Sabbaic script, I'm just putting it out to you. You can see it there in Sabbaic script. This is not the Arabic script that we see in the Quran. This is the Sabbaic script that comes from Yemen. It is Arabic, but it's not the same script. Isn't that interesting? But look at the term Mahmed that is used there by the Jews. So let's show you a quick synopsis. Mahmed means the praised one or the blessed one or the anointed one or even the Messiah later on. So it's not a name. It's not a name, folk. It's a title. It was used in Ugaritic in 1400 BC, borrowed by the Jews in Hebrew in 1000 BC. That's why you have it 11 times in our Bible. It was subsequently employed by St. Ambrose in the 4th century as a title for Jesus Christ. The Jews also referred to it in their reference. And what was interesting, by the 7th century, the Jews started using that title for their exilarchs. The exilarchs were those who were in charge of the seminary in what is today Baghdad. Arabic. So they have all been speaking Arabic, and they had always put Mahmed before their name. Mahmed ben Huziel. Mahmed ben David, Mahmed ben everyone. They have 5 different exilarchs where they put Mahmed before the name, the praised one, the anointed one. It was a title of endearment, of authority, of credibility, well used in Arabic and Aramaic by the 7th century. Thus, by the 7th century, the Christians used Mahmed to refer to the returning Messiah, while the Jews used Mahmed to refer to the Messiah yet to come, and at times interchanged it with the Messiah. Conclusion, therefore, the term Mahmed was well known in that part of the world and at that time, but it was not pronounced Muhammad like you do today. That is how we now pronounce it. And there lies the confusion that Raymond's having, and same with you, Abdul. I can see you're confused now as well. So, folks, knowing that, let's now look and see exactly when Muhammad's story was created within Islam itself.